partnering with Climes, we're now able to gift carbon offsets to our customers so they can vote on the project of their choice, to offset carbon in the way that they feel makes the most impact.
Welcome back for another episode of The Voice of Generation Climate, The Voice of Gen Z, what we call TVOGC. Today we have with us the co-founder of the Pant Project, a wonderful fashion company based out of Bombay. Dhruv, thank you so much for being with us.
Pleasure to be here.
The Pant Project partnered with Climes 2 months ago.
Yeah, it's been a few months.
We are on a mission to help them carbon neutralize part of their emissions. How's the response been so far?
It's been wonderful. I think the work that Climes is doing to offset carbon footprint is amazing, and it just aligns with our values as a brand. Being a custom-made pants brand, in the first place, we've tried to be sustainable with the way we think about consumption and only producing garments after they have been ordered, so that they don't end up in landfills as dead stock or inventory. And now with Climes, we're able to take this to the customer and have something customer-facing where a customer can be part of this journey to offset carbon.
Great. Let's go back to the origin story, right? You're born and brought up in Bombay guy. Your brother as well, Udit,
Yes,
who is
that's
your
right.
co-founder and creative director of the Pant Project. You guys went to Cathedral?
We went to school at Cathedral, went to college at Wharton, so I have a background in finance. My brother went to college in Chicago. He studied art, so he's actually a creative, and he's the creative director of the brand. Looks at product, design, branding, marketing. And I look at everything on the ops side, finance, ops, tech. We spent time away from India, 2009 to 2017, primarily in the States, and came back 2018 and just felt like that was the time to create a digital native brand in India.
Yeah.
E-commerce brands at scale, I think, will be built this decade. And found bottom wear, apparel made sense. Our family's been in the apparel business 45 years.
Banswara Syntax.
Manufacturing yarn, fabric and garments for global and domestic brands. And, we felt bottom wear space here was, hadn't been disrupted in 20 years. And we think fit was really, really important. Wear an uncomfortable pair of pants for the day. It's not fun. So we thought we could do something there and, started the Pant Project October 2020, right through the pandemic.
Which was a pantless time.
Exactly.
Right.
Couldn't have chosen a more difficult time to start in. But I guess that's the beauty of it. It only gets easier from here.
And you guys started with pants, but then you've expanded into shorts.
Yep. So we do bottom wear only. We started with only menswear. We now do men's and women's wear. We go pants across the occasions. We do formal pants. We do chinos. We do cargos. We just launched jeans, and denims is something that's blowing up. Shorts, joggers. So we do pants for every occasion.
Very cool. Why is there a bracket around pant?
So we actually borrowed that element from the dictionary, and we're trying to redefine the category of pants, redefine the way people shop for pants. So it's emphasizing the core of what we do, and we borrowed a couple of elements. There's a bracket and an ellipsis there, and we're the pant pros, so we're trying to be the specialists.
I've never noticed that.
In bottom wear.
So what are some of the core values you've built the Pant Project on?
Yeah, so obviously as a consumer brand, the first thing we've tried to build for is comfort for the customer. And your customers really got to be comfortable in these pair of pants. I think fit is the number one thing that matters there in bottom wear. We chose custom made as a business model for a few reasons. And we think from a sustainability point of view, it's just better for the planet if goods are produced only when they're ordered and they don't end up as waste in landfills. So we chose a custom-made business model, and that's helped us not only get fit right but be more sustainable. And I think what we're trying to do is provide really high-quality fabrics. So we can talk about raw material sourcing and how that's really the best in global fabrics. But we're trying to provide you the most premium experience as a customer in terms of the quality of product you're receiving for the price that you're paying.
So that's on materials, that's on the customer experience, on alterations, returns, all of it.
All of it.
Right? What part of the process do you think was broken earlier?
So a few things, right? When you go into a store, you can only buy a 32 waist or a 34 or 36. We offer in between sizes. If you're extra tall or extra short, you just get a standard 30 length at a store. Here we can get as low as a 26 inseam, as high as a 36 inseam. You couldn't really personalize the pair of pants, so some people like it with a button or a hook. You like to choose if you'd like to add pleats or a crease. That you couldn't do in store, and so it's just frustrating. You go to a store, you like a pair of pants, it's not available in your size. We're never out of size on a fabric because we make the pant after it's produced, after it's ordered. And I think that entire experience being digital and seamless has really helped us, be able to reach all of India. We've serviced now thousands of zip codes and hundreds of thousands of orders over the last few years. And it really varies right across the country, north to south, east to west.
Oh, that's amazing. 100,000 orders since October 2020.
We've done almost 200,000 now. Yeah.
Incredible. It's really, really good. So look, this podcast is called The Voice of Generation Climate. And the reason it's named TVOGC is because we have found there's an audience out there that's not bound by age or ethnography. It's a psychographic way of living, caring for the climate. All around us is climate impact, right? I'm from Delhi. There's floods in Delhi right now. Bombay has its own issues, right? Wherever you go in the country, wherever you go in the world, there's some issue, right? Sea levels, heat waves, forest fires. So people who care to do something about it are not Gen X, Y, or Z, Gen C. So it's a age-independent, gender-independent, terminology we've come up with. Within the framework of Gen C and the framework of fashion, which is your lever, how do you create sustainable impact on the planet? How do we heal or regenerate our planet through the lens of fashion?
Yeah, there's so much there. When you talk about the consumer, let me tell you a little bit about our customer too. You say Gen C, our customers definitely climate conscious, and I'd say Gen C comfort conscious.
Yeah.
Our customer varies across age groups, and I'd say you'd be surprised. There's climate awareness now right across the age groups. But when you ask about how to make it more sustainable for the planet, I think it boils down to several pillars. One is on the raw materials front, and so we're using organic cotton, that's Better Cotton Initiative certified. We're using recycled polyester, and so all our polyester is recycled from PET bottles. We're using Liva Eco Viscose, and I think what's interesting there is there's this agreement, I get technical here, but a canopy cover agreement, which means that every time you take viscose out of a tree, you plant another tree so that you're not reducing the canopy cover on the planet. So we're doing things like that as a brand to ensure we're climate conscious. And partnering with Climes, we're now able to gift carbon offsets to our customers so they can vote on a project of their choice, to offset carbon in the way that they feel makes the most impact.
See, purpose-driven brands, I think, are not just the future, but the present now. And in that, there's very many different levers we can use, right? So materials is one. How do you source better materials? How do you minimize your water footprint? How do you minimize your waste, right? Design products that has minimum waste on the planet. How is it most carbon efficient? I think there's so many different parts of it.
Let me talk about a couple of those, right? You talked about water. We do zero hazardous waste and chemical discharge. Our manufacturing facilities have a wastewater treatment plant, and all the water we're treating and discharging is good enough to use in agriculture after it's been processed. And on the energy front, factories are using solar power to power them. So we're using renewable energy wherever we can. When you talk about climate consciousness, I think something that's important for the modern consumer is the brand authentically doing it? And I think that a lot of brands claim to be doing things, and the validity of it is important for the customer. I think partnering with an organization like Climes for us has been great, because then the customer knows there's transparency into how these projects are actually getting into execution on the ground level, sort of updates as to how the money that's being used to offset carbon is actually being spent.
I think one of the books that you would recommend it to me as well is Let My People Go Surfing.
Right.
Johan Schoenhardt,
Yes.
Who is one of my heroes, by the way, the founder of Patagonia. What about him and the company Patagonia has inspired you?
I think what I love about what Patagonia has done is it's built this really high quality product, super comfortable clothing, focused on the outdoors from the passion of the founder, for the outdoors, and it's good for the planet. And I think from an organizational culture perspective too, he's built a brand where people are really passionate about working for the brand. And from a consumer love perspective, die-hard Patagonia loyalists. I think the Pant Project, we're trying to do something in bottom wear here that's similar. I just say I'm not sure if India as a market yet is ready to pay a premium for sustainability. And so something we try to do as a brand is be sustainable and at the same time have a lot of other USPs that are functional benefits and have a price point that's accessible so that we can be considered as good for the planet but not more expensive than the market because we're good for the planet. And I think that kind of goes back to how healthy food was viewed 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I think people used to think if it's healthy, it's not tasty, or if it's healthy, it's more expensive. I think we're getting to a world now where you can get healthy and tasty, healthy and as expensive.
It's a reframing that has to be done.
And I think that has to be done with sustainability.
Are there any other brands that you think are purpose-driven brands you're really inspired by, globally or in India?
Yeah, no, I think globally, Everlane is another one that's done a fantastic job. And I think you're going to see a lot more of them come up at scale in India. I think it's just early days. This decade is when it's going to be done.
So you guys have an interesting, vantage point in the fashion industry. Udit and you and Pant Project overall. Because you guys are third generation, business owners with Banswara Syntex. And you've got the vertically integrated supply chain, the manufacturing, right, and the supply chain to a degree. And then you have the consumer-facing angle of Pant Project. How do the two connect? Where's the sync up that happens? And how do you use that big lever to then influence what the fashion industry does in becoming far more sustainable?
Yeah, there's so much to it. I mean, honestly, as the Pant Project, we're a consumer brand. We operate much like most other digital native consumer brands. I think what allows us to be more flexible is having our own supply chain. And so we can launch products closer to market, run on leaner inventory levels, and all of that is really good for the planet too, in terms of how much inventory is stuck in the system, how much waste ends up in landfill. On the manufacturing side, we're always trying to push the limits of what we can do to be more sustainable in our manufacturing processes. And it goes to with ethical and fair labor practices. All of our factories are RAP Platinum certified, and we're basically making sure we're providing you, a high quality garment stitched in conditions that are fair for, labor. I think all of those things are really important. You have issues that blow up otherwise, like they have in other industries like footwear, where you talk about unfair manufacturing and labor practices, and that's also part of sustainability. So I think sustainability is a wide lens to look at things from, and that's how we're trying to approach it as a brand.
Within which there are so many different levers. We mentioned water, waste, carbon, even air pollution as an extension of it. So many different levers to affect. In an ideal state, you're building product that consumers love to use, that it just lasts forever, right? And if and when they do discard them, they first think about repairing them.
Yeah.
I think repairing is a very radical concept that came up, even again from Patagonia.
100%. I think there's a few things. So if you look at our sales on Pant Project, more than 80% of our product that sells is core.
Yeah.
And funny enough, black, grey, navy, khaki and olive, these 5 colors make up more than half our sales. And these are pants that people are going to wear for a long period of time. So, we look at the cost of a purchase from a cost per wear basis. And I say, okay, you're paying 3,000 rupees for a pair of high quality pants. But if you're going to wear them hundreds of times, that's less than 30 rupees per wear.
Exactly.
So definitely want people using things for a long period of time. We offer free alterations as a brand. And, if a pant doesn't fit you when you receive it, within 14 days, you can send it back to us. We'll adjust the waist, the length. We'll make sure it fits you, and that's like a fit guarantee. I think that's really important, because what ends up happening otherwise is, another brand, you'll just return the product and the brand will try to ship you something new, but they're not able to ensure that every product is actually used, and some pants end up in landfills. So I think we're trying to do different things that really build durable product that a consumer can use for a long period of time.
Which counterintuitively defeats the whole idea of being a product company in a commercial sense.
I don't actually think there's a conflict there.
There isn't a conflict, but product companies think we would just want to make more product and then sell more product.
Yeah.
But the right thing to do is to build durable product so that you don't actually have to buy a new product.
Yeah, and I think the world is changing that way. I think customers are willing to pay more for better quality products. Yes. There is this whole fast fashion movement, and there's a set of products that people want to just buy, wear a few times and throw away. but the core of your wardrobe is stuff you want to keep for a long period of time. And if you found pants that really fit you well, or any product for that matter, it's a really sad day when you say this is 10 years old.
Yeah.
I want to throw this away because it's just so.
You never want to throw it.
You never want to throw it. Like, there's pajamas of mine that I've worn for decades.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're trying to get. And there's always other categories of product that a customer can buy. So I'd much rather, a customer buy a couple of pairs of jeans from us, for example, and use them for 5 or 6 or 7 years, and then come back to us for shorts or joggers or cargo pants or formal pants. I don't think of it as it's better to keep selling something new at a low value every month.
So I think it needs that radical change where founders of consumer brands that are shaping the future very clearly articulate that, hey, if I create something for you, please use it forever or for as long as possible, right? And I think we need a lot more of that messaging now
100%.
to move away from the fast fashion terminology to slow fashion.
Right.
I think slow fashion is now becoming sexy.
Yeah, and honestly, for me, if you'd ask me, North Star brands, Uniqlo or Lululemon would be brands we draw a lot of inspiration from.
Yeah.
And much more so than Zara or H&M. Not to say there's anything wrong with Zara H&M product, it's also still very high quality. But just as a philosophy or ethos, we just align way more with building something that lasts for a long period of time.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I'm glad that you're thinking about it this way too. Let's, dive into the perspective of different stakeholders in your value chain.
Yeah.
So you have consumers, you have investors, may have investors in the future. You have government policymakers, right? And you have large enterprises who could also be buying from you. Not sure if they are yet.
We're direct to consumer at the moment. Yeah.
So consumers, what are they saying? Give me that Gen Z perspective. What are they starting to demand? So not just, what is Pant Project offering them in terms of choices? What is your consumer demanding as a more climate conscious consumer?
Honestly, we haven't gotten that much explicit feedback from customers saying be climate conscious. I think that's more something that you as a brand today have to take up. And when you put the message out, you get a lot of positive feedback. So I can tell you, before we signed up on Climes, we'd have a certain response rate to our emails. When we've put in a free Climes voucher and had people vote to do something good to offset carbon in the planet, that rate's gone up by 5%. And that shows you that there is a set of the audience that is willing to do additional work for the planet.
Yeah.
And they're willing to give you feedback because they care about that. Most of the feedback we get from customers is just for more and more comfortable product. And so, we're working, for example, in this upcoming fall-winter season to launch something that's, fleece or micro fleece, really comfortable for the winters. In the summers, we'll do seersucker and stuff that's really good for the summers, or linen, which is natural and really good for the planet. I think from a sustainability perspective, India is still a very young market. We'd be ahead of ourselves to say we have a large base of conscious consumers. But I think it's something that's definitely growing, and in 10 years from now is going to be table stakes.
What about your colleagues, the people who work at the Pant Project?
So
what's their role in fighting the climate fight?
Yeah, I think there's all little things that everyone does. I think, when we signed up on Climes, our office were actually the first few people to vote, and they were the most excited to use the Climes credits that we partnered with. And from a product usage perspective too, I think if you walk around our office now, you'll see everyone's dressed pretty casually and comfortably, and I think everyone tries to use everything they buy for a long period of time. So I think it's those little steps as a consumer that you can do. I think there's a set of consumers too that actually reads now the labels on the product that they buy. So if you went back, say 20 years, I think nobody even bothers to know what's in the product they're buying. We do get questions from our customers asking, is this 100% cotton, or is this recycled polyester? And they do care for the contents of their pants now. So these are the sort of things as a consumer you can do to be more aware of who you're buying from or what you're buying.
What about your own household? You're married, you have a family. What is their role in fighting the climate?
Yeah, I'll tell you something. My dad actually, he's 60 now, and he still cycles to work. Something as I walk to work. As little things like that can make a big difference. You can try not to have plastic bottles and use glass bottles for recycling. And I think it's those little things that add up to make big differences. It's just a conscious way of living.
What about policymakers, government?
We haven't really interacted much with policymakers and government. I'll be honest. At a company level, as a brand, we haven't really gotten to a scale or stage where we're interacting with policymakers. But I do see policies coming in with green manufacturing incentives to set up green manufacturing plants. Using solar power has government subsidies now. And I think that's one great way the government can encourage you to be able to be sustainable without incurring an extra cost as a manufacturer. Lets you pass that on to the consumer and sell at the same price. So I think from a policy perspective, they need to find ways to make sure it's net neutral economically for brands to be able to really embrace it at scale.
If you fast forward 7 years from now, in 2023, so 2030, and you look back, what would you be proud of? Like, if we have done what? Will you be extremely proud and say, "Damn, I'm glad we did this"? As a brand, as a company.
I think the biggest thing for me is waste and landfill. So from fashion, still the singular biggest problem is, I think a large, I don't know the exact number, but like 30% of product ends up, either sold off price or as waste in landfills. Because there's just impossible to predict inventory and demand, impossible to match that accurately. And so for me, the biggest thing would be, if every pant that's made from the Pant Project is actually worn by somebody.
It's like 100%
utilization. I just don't want pants to be made that were never worn by a human and end up in a landfill.
What is it currently?
Currently it is 100%.
For the Pant Project?
For the Pant Project.
For the industry?
For the industry, I think it's somewhere between 70-80%.
Oh my God.
So there's a
that's
lot
like
of
1 in 5.
1 in 5 garments ending up in a landfill, sort of not being worn. And that's just a massive opportunity. After that, you get into the smaller floor level processes. We're doing a lot of things, at a floor level where, when you make a pair of pants, you have a lot of end bits and waste around the fabric that's been cut. We try to reuse that. So little things like your belt loops are made from that reused fabric in the end bits. Our packaging is plastic free. So we use only paper in our packaging. And I think it's those little things that you do that make a huge difference. Often the customer can't see them, but over a long period of time, adds up to make a difference.
So you'd be proud if you just keep improving the process, get to 100% utilization, lead to nothing ending up in a landfill.
That would be massive.
And what behavior do you feel like you would like to influence in consumers? Obviously, keeping a product for as long as possible is one. What more?
I think that's the number one. The second is actually being educated about what you're buying. And I think fast fashion is a low thought process decision making. I like that style, let's buy it. Conscious consumer is one who says, what's in my wardrobe? Where are there gaps? What is this brand? What's it selling? What does it stand for? What's this product? How long is it going to last? What features or benefits does it have? And then make a purchase decision. And so I just be happier as more and more customers are spending time on product pages, educating themselves about what they're buying and really making conscious decisions that are not just price comparison across website, but actually brand comparison in what the brand stands for.
So it should become a decision parameter, right? Not just price.
And I'm not saying it's the only one. You're not going to buy something just because it's sustainable.
For sure.
But within the 5 or 6 decision parameters, have this be one thing you consider.
And it's starting to happen.
I think if you give a customer 2 products that are equally priced, the same product, and one has a climate benefit, why would you not pick the one with the climate benefit?
Right.
So it should be a no-brainer choice.
Yeah, and now we're not even asking people to pay. It's a gift from the brand that you buy from.
Exactly.
Right? And I think that's more of a shared experience in a way.
100%.
Because both sides are playing their part.
100%.
But carbon utilization is only one part of it. I think there's so many more levers over here. There's materials, there's waste, water. And I'm really, really happy that you're trying to address each and every one of those. I think sending that signal out into the market is extremely important at this point because fashion is a very, very, very heavy, environmentally not conscious sector so far. And we do need more Pant projects.
And let me touch on, you're talking about customer education. I think a lot of customer education is overriding the misinformation that's been put out there. So everyone says, buy cotton, it's really sustainable. The amount of water used in processing a pant to make it a cotton chino is far more than that used in making a formal pant that's, say, polyviscose lycra. And so when you're a consumer, you need to really make a conscious decision based on what the net impact of the planet is, and not just on greenwashing saying buy cotton because it's organic and it's better for the planet. And I think as we do that, we'll be able to be in a better place, as a society.
Amazing. Thank you so much for all that you do with the Pant Project. It's been a lovely conversation. I bought your products recently. I bought a pair of shorts, and it is honestly the single best fit. So I think in Generation Climate, Gen Z, it is comfort and climate in the Pant Project's case.
Thanks so much, Anil.
Thanks so much for your time.
Lovely speaking with you.